Hi guys, welcome back to the Forgetful Scholar, and this week we're going to chat about books, two books. So this week is going to be two mystery books that I read. One is a cozy mystery and the other one, I think it's technically cozy, but there's so much more going on, which I loved. Okay, so basically, I know I said I needed a break from mystery, right? And I was totally on board with that. I needed a break. I got it. I was totally on board with that, right? But I had to renew my library card and I had to look around. And I was looking in the sci-fi section and the fantasy section, and one sci-fi series really got me really interested, but the first book wasn't there in the series. So I'm going to try again at a later date to pick that one up. It's by, I think the series is by Jodie Taylor. I haven't really read much sci-fi. I've read alien romance sci-fi, but that's kind of it. So I'm pretty excited about that. So if you read Jodie Taylor, let me know what you thought, you know what I mean? So I looked in the romance. I didn't really find anything that caught my interest in the library, but I picked up two mystery books in the library. So the first one is Tradition of Deceit, a Chloe Ellefson mystery, book 5 by Kathleen, Ernst. And if you're saying hey Forgetful, I don't remember you reading a Chloe Ellefson book, and I'll be like, yeah, you are correct. Why are you reading number 5? Because they didn't have numbers on the books. Well, I mean, the library obviously had numbers, but this book series didn't have numbers on it. And I kind of, reading the synopsis on the back, I kind of guessed which one was the earlier one there. And cozy mysteries tend to be episodic, so it's not so bad to jump in the middle. Book 5, book 3, I haven't had a problem with that. It's usually to see if I enjoy the writing style or not, right? So that's what happened. Totally my fault. And if it did have a number on it, I didn't see it. So I picked up the book 5 in the series. This one was a 4 stars for me. I really liked it, and I really liked the author's style, and it turns out she is a social historian. So some of the facts that are in this book, I kind of double check because I'm paranoid like that, are accurate, and I was fascinated. And it has to do a lot with Polish culture. It takes place in Milwaukee, and it has to do with Polish culture, which I don't have really any reference for. So I, being the anthropology nerd that I am, fascinated. I ate it up. I loved it. So Chloe is a curator, and she works in a local little museum, and her friend calls her over to help her out. About an hour out of Milwaukee, there is this flour mill that they're restoring and all this stuff. So she's like, oh yeah, I'm there, let's go, And the thing is, this history of the mill is so fascinating, and I loved how the author got you not only invested in the history, but made you feel the history, and I'll talk about that in a second. So I really liked it. So she goes there, and the head of the restoration curation movement is found dead. And I was like, okay, that's the main mystery. Nope. The next POV is her boyfriend. It's pronounced Relke, and it's spelled Roclke. So I'm happy that the book, you pronounce it like this. I'm like, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Relke, he is a police officer. And it starts off apparently, I'm sure I missed them getting together and everything like this because book 5, So basically, it starts off them going to a wedding of his friend, and Relke kind of picked a fight with Chloe afterwards, which was ridiculous to me. And I was like, yeah, weddings can put a lot of pressure on new relationships, you know what I mean? So I got it. And the whole time, Relke was the definition of getting in your own way or making problems worse by not communicating, right? And the thing is, it all made more sense to me because it takes place in the 80s. I forgot to mention it takes place in the 80s. Oh, and this was published in 2014. I'm still not going to spoil who the killer or killers are because it's actually 2 murders we're following. And it's 347 pages. And let me tell you, I sped through it. Not like I skipped or anything, but like the writing was so much fun and so easy, I guess, that, or comprehensible, I should say, that I just devoured it. And I had such a great time. The reason it's not 5 stars, I'll tell you in a second. So, Relke, his best friend that we meet at the wedding, is killed in action because they're all cops, right? So Relke, that's horrible. It's his best friend, and Relke goes to investigate, and like he's like, there's dirty cops going on. You know what I mean? So he's kind of pushing Chloe away, pushing everybody away to do this because he thinks he can only focus on this, right? And some secrets about his family come out that he didn't tell Chloe, and Chloe's pissed. And she has a right to be pissed. But for most part, she's very understanding and very sweet and just wants to be there for him, right? So she races back from her friend's house to see if he's okay. He kind of shuts her out a lot while he's investigating, and she goes back to the mill. So we follow 2 murder investigations. And not only that, we get the history of the mill told from us through women from this one family's POV and different generations. And I loved it so much, right? And it got you really invested in the story, and their story is so heartbreaking and so beautiful and so intense. And the fact that the author put you in a POV from that family to go through it with them, I loved it. And I was like, this is so reminiscent of something. What is it? What is it? I'm really enjoying this. What is it? This is a great way to learn history. I wish we did this in like school. And I was like, wait a minute. I heard about this. Has this author perhaps written for American Girl dolls? And she has. I believe it's I wrote it down. Hold on. I actually wrote this down. The Kathleen Abbott books of the American Girl dolls. I was like, oh, see, I myself didn't have American Girl doll or the stories. They're like beautiful dolls, historical dolls that have their own series of books. Each doll has their own series of books, and they all take place during different time periods, and the books put you in important historical events through the eyes of the doll, right? The little girl that the doll is based off of, you know. And American Girl doll fans are fans for life, and I was always impressed by that. Like, love them as little kids, and they're still collectors as adults. And I'm always impressed how much the fan base doesn't lose their love for these stories. And now I get it, you know, because I've always heard them described like, oh, it takes you, the American Girl dolls put you in history, and it's a great way to learn about it, right? And I never really experienced that because, again, I wasn't really interested. I was more into My Little Ponies growing up, so and I was like, oh, this must have been why they're such huge fans. So if you are American Girl girly, and you love the books, you should definitely check out this author, because I think you'll really enjoy this as an adult as well. Because I loved living through history with this family, and it was not easy for them. A lot of hardships happen, and I heard the American Doll books can become traumatizing. Like, a lot of stuff happens to those poor little girls, so like, I get it, history isn't all sunshine and rainbows, you know. But like, freak, I really enjoyed it, and now I get why adults still love the dolls as much as they did when they were little. I get it now. I totally do. And like, you guys were lucky, because wow, that was so much fun. I really, really freaking enjoyed it. The reason it's 4 stars, so the 2 mysteries, there's 2 murders going on, right? And for the murder that Chloe is in the middle of, I think there was more clues as to who the murderer was, but looking back on it, I think there could have been a little bit more, because really it was just the female staff calling him by his last name, no honor, like no honorary title. Like all the guys involved in the dig called him Professor this, Professor White, Dr. White, but the women were like White, you know? So I was like, okay, so there's a little bit of a clue that, you know, he was at the very least a misogynist. And I was like, oh yeah, this takes place towards the 80s, where that was kind of just unfortunately, you know? I'm not like excusing it, but I was like, okay, so that's a little bit of a clue. But I think who turned out to be the murderer was a bit of a cop-out and like not enough clues to support it as a story of a whole. And I wondered if because that we were following two murders, but that may be what this, you know, mystery series is all about. We follow Chloe and Relke murders. I'm not sure. And Relke, it was a fun twist, but I don't think there was enough evidence to support that twist. There's just a little talk about like how much stress said person is under, and that was it. And I was like, you know, looking back, I had so much fun. See, these two books this week, I had such a good time reading them, right? So that factors in to my rating, you know. But sometimes with both of them actually, I hit a bit of a wall because I don't think there was enough clues throughout the story to support who the murderer turned out to be. But I had such a fun time reading it, right? And the confrontation, both confrontations were on the page. Love it. I love how history of that family we were following tied into what was going on in the present. I love that. Even though they weren't part of the main thing, they were still there. They were still strong. Like, basically the great granddaughter of like the first woman we're following. Ah, I loved learning about the Mills' history in such a fun yet sad way, and their story broke my heart, you know. And I loved learning a little bit more about Polish culture and Polish folk art that I had no reference to, and I was like, oh, that is so cool. Oh, that is so cool. Let me look that up. Let me do a deep dive, because again, you guys know I'm 100% nerd, and if I get to learn something new, I'm so excited about it. But the clue, I don't think there was enough clues sprinkled in through the story to justify both, like who the killer turned out to be for both different murders. I think there could have been a little bit more of that, right? So that's why it's 4 stars. Definitely going to continue to check out this author, just even if it's honestly like 80% for the history. But no, I did really enjoy myself. I had a blast reading it. So that's a 4 stars. Now, the second book is Wine and Punishment, a literary pub mystery book 1 by Sarah Fox. And yes, I grabbed the first one of this series. Again, that was just reading the synopsis and like basically luck. So this follows Sadie. She moves to Vermont, Shady Creek, Vermont, where her aunt lives after a bad breakup with her ex-boyfriend. And she buys this historical mill that she lives on top of with her adorable cat, Whimsy. And on the bottom, she turned the pub into like a literary pub. So she was going to do a bookstore, but apparently the town it's one of the town's favorite hangouts. It's one of the town's favorite little hangouts. So she decided, because she's a love of literature, so she decided to put it into a literary pub. So the way this pub is described, I want to go there, I want to be there, I want to go to there. Like right now, let's go right now. It sounds so cozy. There's books lining the top of the pub, and you know, they have beer and everything like that and wine, but then their specialty mixed cocktails are like Evil Stepmother, Lovecraft, which I would really like the description on it. I was like, oh, that sounds delicious. I want to try that. So like all these beautiful things, all these fun things, right? And she has like an Agatha Christie room and things like that that she uses for book clubs. You know, there's a romance book club. She wants to get a mystery and a science fiction and fantasy one going to. And I thought that was such a great idea. And I was like, dang, I wish we had this in my town. I would be there all the freaking time, to the point people would be worried about me because like, forgetful, why are you in the pub all the time? And I'll be like, you don't even know, okay? So she, you know, she's just getting this pub up and going. It's fall. She's trying to be part of the community and join in the fall festival. And it's really important to her that this business thrive. And like her two employees, Mel and Damien, they sound amazing. They deserve raises. Holy moly. Do they go above and beyond and are so sweet, right? Her ex-boyfriend shows up, but she doesn't want to see him. So her and her best friend go to her aunt's birthday dinner, and she's like, I'll deal with him tomorrow because he really betrayed her trust and everything like that. And again, I'm skipping ahead. This is definitely the more cozy, and I think the book before was just a mystery, but this is published 2019, 261 pages, And again, this went fast, probably because it's a little bit on the shorter side, but I had a really good time. And this one, I'm not sure, like it waffles between 3 stars and 4 stars. So I might be like processing out loud and figure out what star I'm gonna give this while I'm talking about it. Anyway, he turns up dead. Her and the local brew owner, Grayson, hate on sight. And I don't think this is enemies to romance, because he jumps to conclusions a lot, like assumes a lot about her, and is kind of rude to her even though he's nice about everybody else. He gets his head out of his ass during this story, so that's nice. And I am happy that she's not immediately like, oh, let's date, I'm happy that she's like, oh, okay, we'll start over, but I'm gonna fight my attraction for you, which is good, because it did feel like once I hit page 180, it's like, oh, she has a hots for him, and I was like, wait, what? So the romance of it was a little clunky for me, like kind of like, it could have been a little bit more smooth in some places, but I understand that that is just a byproduct of cozy, and I should be more focused on the mystery, but I'm just letting you know, that's not factoring into my rating, because it's cozy mystery rating. But I'm just saying the romance was a little clunky, I mean, they didn't get together at the end of the book, which made it a little bit better for me. Like they maybe the next book they'll be friends. I don't know. But that started off a little bit better, right? So like her tires get slashed, the pub gets egged, there's arson, her ex-boyfriend is murdered. The cops think she did it, then, she thinks Grayson did it, and he's so shocked that she thinks she would do it. Like, obviously, you've been an asshole since she got here. Like, he's shocked that she thinks he slashed her tires. I was like, yeah, you're the only person that's been mean to her. Why wouldn't she think that, right? There's so much going on in this book, like arson and murder and just the vandalism and like the scare tactics. And there was an arson in town the night her ex-boyfriend was killed, and someone leaves a gas can in front of her door. Like someone is obviously like freaking everybody out purposely, right? So actually, I don't know, the audio got messed up, but what I wanted to say with Wine and Punishment is that there was a lot going on, and at the end of the day, after I read the whole thing, I had a blast reading it, but I don't think the clues added, like there wasn't really enough clues to add up to who ended up being the killer. I liked who the killer was. It was a nice surprise. It's just, looking back on it, there was not enough clues to justify it, I guess. The one thing is that they love the old mill, but everybody loved the old mill. Hell, I love the old mill, you know what I mean? So, but I think I'm going to do 3.5. I'm definitely going to check out both of these authors. I had a blast. I don't want to, but it's time for me to get back to the real world. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye.